This episode of Couch Potatoes Unite! Is sponsored by Blue Bridge Games. For the games and gifts you won't find anywhere else, head to Grand Rapids, Michigan's friendliest local game store, Blue Bridge Games. Blue Bridge Games carries an extensive line of board games, card games, role-playing tabletop games, Magic the Gathering, and more. Stop into their storefront on East Fulton or shop with them online at bluebridgegames.com.
You say you want to watch a drama. You say you want to watch a comedy. Well, you can watch it with your mama. Or you can watch it with your daddy.
You'll even sit and watch it with your middle schooler. So you can come and talk around a water cooler. We're watching all day and all night.
Couch Potatoes Unite.
Whoa, whoa.
Couch Potatoes Unite.
Whoa, whoa. Couch Potatoes Unite.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Which is based on a blog of the same name because we are the master, mwahaha, of our own domain. Well, that did take a slightly evil turn, didn't it? That's okay. We'll right ourselves before this episode's over. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU! Hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the website or podcast via iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Amazon Music, basically wherever you get your podcasts to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including, but not limited to, Stranger Things, iZombie, The Good Place, Game of Thrones, Grace and Frankie, Mr. Robot, Altered Carbon, The Orville, Outlander, Westworld, Fuller House, Schitt's Creek, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Crown, and Better Call Saul. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for The 100, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Supernatural, This Is Us, Charmed, Riverdale, The Good Doctor Catching Up series will get caught up on Season 4. The American Horror Story franchise series panel, new name, will talk about Season 1 of American Horror Stories. The DCTU series panel will reflect upon Season 4 of Black Lightning, and the Star Trek 50 Plus series will discuss Season 1 of Deep Space Nine. We'll be launching new panels covering Big Little Lies, The Animaniacs, Killing Eve, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, American Gods, Grey's Anatomy, Cobra Kai, Peaky Blinders, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, A Discovery of Witches, and The Hauntings of Hill House and Bly Manor. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll travel through time and experience all sorts of identities with Quantum Leap, we'll cry bazinga for Big Bang Theory, we'll dive deep into the fantasy world of The Magicians, we'll navigate the witty political satire of Parks and Recreation, we'll become psychos for Psych, we'll go where everybody knows your name with Cheers, we hope you'll be listening when we talk about Frasier, and we'll know that's what she said when we talk about The Office, both from the UK and the USA. By the way, did you know that CPU also from time to time goes live? We've been live from bunkers, comedy shows, Comic-Cons, and game stores. Plus, we're planning more live appearances and other cool stuff, including in these semi-quarantine times. So make sure you like or follow us at our Facebook page, our Twitter, at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, or subscribe to our website, our YouTube channel, our Apple iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, CastBox, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. In the meantime, if you don't hear a show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we always seek new panelists. So if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of the outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback, not the master's kind of feedback, or the Cybermen's kind of feedback, or the Daleks kind of feedback. Really just talk to us, or talk to yourself, but don't be violent. That's really where we're going. Today, we're around the water cooler and discussing season or series, if you're British, 12 of Doctor Who, which aired from January 1st to March 1st, 2020 on BBC America and BBC Worldwide, with a total of 10 episodes, including the 2020 holiday special, which was the season premiere, Spyfall Part 1. We are also covering the 2021 holiday special, Revolution of the Daleks, which aired on January 1st, 2021 on the Beeb. To remind the listener, Doctor Who is a British science fiction television program produced by the BBC since 1963. The program depicts depicts the adventures of a Time Lord called the Doctor, an extraterrestrial being from the planet Gallifrey. The Doctor explores the universe in a time-traveling spaceship called the TARDIS, or Time and Relative Dimension in Space. Its exterior appears as a blue British police box, which was a common sight in Britain in 1963 when the series first aired, and accompanied by a number of companions, the Doctor combats a variety of foes while working to save civilizations and to help people in need. Officially, as of currently, 13 actors have headlined the series as the Doctor. The transition from one actor to another is written into the plot of the show with the concept of regeneration into a new incarnation, a plot device where a Time Lord whose body is too badly harmed to heal normally can instead recover by transforming into a new body. Each actor's portrayal differs, but all represent stages in the life of the same character and form a single lifetime with a single narrative. The time-traveling feature of the plot means that different incarnations of the Doctor occasionally meet. Our panel of stalwart Whovians, namely Kristen, Nick, Sarah, Kyle, and Hillary, are back around the water cooler, which is naturally bigger on the inside, after a long, anticipatory hiatus to dissect in our usual devoted detail, for better or for worse, the 12th series of international cult favorite Doctor Who, and the second series for 13th Doctor Jodie Whittaker. At least that's the numbering system we're going by. As always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have viewed all of Doctor Who through Series 12 and the related New Year's specials, and will, let's face it, discuss sensitive plot points. So for those of you who are not caught up on this show, listen at your own risk, as there may be major spoilers. And by caught up on the show, I do mean through Series 12. Welcome back, panel. How are you?
Great.
Pretty good.
Are you pretty good? It's been such a long time since we've been together, and we're not even really together now, except virtually and COVID-19 safe and all that business.
Yeah, some life happened.
Everybody else shrugged.
Everybody else is, to the people who are listening, everybody's nodding.
We're nodding, we're shrugging.
Yes, this is a podcast.
Everybody is inaudibly maying, like me.
Well, that's cheery. Well, since you're here, what we're going to have to do, so this is our Doctor Who panel. If you've been following our Doctor Who water cooler series, you know that we do not, for this series, have a standard CPU character question that changes with each show we do, because let's face it, there's only the Doctor and some companions, and they change once every so often, and it's really kind of hard to, cover that in a character question without it being dumb. So what I'm going to have the panel do to remind you, listener, who they are, is to tell you their first name only, just their first name, and then what was your most favorite part of the season that was, so we can start off on a positive note, because I already know there's going to be some spiciness in this particular recording. So who would like to start around the water cooler right now? Sarah's raising her hand.
Yes, because I'm holding junior podcaster Lily, and she's relatively calm right now. So I want to go before she freaks out. So hi, I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah and Lily.
And Lily is here. My favorite part of the season was the return of Captain Jack.
Captain Jack.
I almost said Captain Jack Sparrow, and that's not right.
It's
that's
not the same Captain Jack.
That would have been an interesting twist.
Could have been good, but, they'll hit me up when they're ready to write that, I guess. But no, John Barrowman returned, and that was my favorite part.
All right. Welcome back, Sarah.
I am Hillary.
Hi, Hillary.
And hey, how's it going? So you're my sister, and people might notice that in various comments that get made. And also Kyle will talk in a minute, and he's my husband.
Yes, probably.
I'm going to go ahead and 100% agree with Sarah that the part that I liked, and pretty much the only part that I liked, was the return of John Barrowman / Captain Jack Harkness. And that is about it.
All right. Welcome back, Hillary, for shadowing. And maybe the husband in question should go next.
I mean, I would just have to jump on their bandwagon. I love Captain Jack. I love Torchwood, so it was great seeing him back. I wish he had better storytelling and potential for his return. I did. We'll get into that. Anyway.
John Barrowman parts.
Welcome back, Kyle. Foreshadowing.
I'm Nick.
Hi, Nick.
And I'm married to fellow panelist Sarah.
It's true. I mean, that still seems to be the case. You added it like a question
Check.
mark.
He fathered my 3 children, guys.
Including the junior podcaster.
What?
Currently on the recording.
The mystery is solved, guys. It was Nick all along.
Wow. Shocking.
No, I'm still going with Bacula.
I don't know what's happening. Nick, did
I
you want to
wish.
talk?
I would Bacula.
She goes, I wish.
Hit me up, Scott Bacula. That is our Quantum Leap podcast or our Enterprise podcast. We'll definitely get there. So tweet at us at CPU Podcast. Scott Bacula, if you're interested in coming to meet me.
Wow, she's smooth. She got it in early. That's what she said. Nick, would you like to talk?
Whenever it's my turn, it's fine.
It's now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'll throw two things out there. I'd like that we finally went back to Gallifrey, and I do enjoy Jodie Whittaker's portrayal of the Doctor. So that's what I'll throw out there.
Very good. Welcome back, Nick. Husband to Sarah and father to Lily. Get right.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi, and yeah, I'm going to jump on the Captain Jack bandwagon here too. I'm really trying to think of something else that I liked about this season, and that was kind of it. But even it wasn't really well executed, And like Nick, I love Jodie as the Doctor. I think she brings a great take, but I wish she had better material to work with. So yeah, the season as a whole wasn't that memorable for me, sadly.
Okay, welcome back, Kristen. This is going downhill. Hey.
Kristen got married. Finally.
Kristen
Yay!
get married.
Yay!
Since our last Doctor Who panel, that is true. Since the last panel she's been published on, she's already married.
Oh, yeah. I mean, COVID just didn't want that ceremony to happen, but she prevailed, didn't you?
Life happened while we were away.
Yep, you guys had a baby. We got married. Oh yeah, things happened. Big year.
Big year. Well, welcome back, married Kristen and parents anew and my siblings.
There was a new Halloween movie. That's a big deal in this household.
Well, okay.
I became a drug manufacturer.
Why are you telling people?
I just love to. I mean, it's true. That's what I do.
I don't know what's
I love
happening.
people's reaction when I tell them.
I don't know what's happening. I'm going to yank this back because I still got to go. So my name is Kylie, and I both moderate and participate on this crazy Doctor Who panel. And what can I say were my favorite parts? Yes, Captain Jack. Yes, Jodie as the Doctor, though I agree that the material has not been great. I walked away from this series confused, I think, is the biggest reaction I've got, is confused. And then I also did enjoy Sacha Dhawan as the Master. I'm still confused because I thought the Master was done and they didn't really explain how the Master came back. So I have issues and feelings, which we'll get into as we talk about Series 12 of Doctor Who tonight. So we've had a lot of life happen, as Hillary noted. We've had plans to do this earlier. We're doing it now. This is after the season has premiered. So we have not watched and will not talk about any of Series 13 today, which is currently running. We are only talking about Series 12 and the surrounding New Year's specials. Because we don't do the character question, we're just going to launch right into this situation. We'll start generally and work our way from there, although I think there's a fairly lot to discuss. So what did you like about Series 12? What didn't you like about Series 12? Tell me pros, cons, and good, bad, and otherwise. Go!
I think how the last series, it was all, they're going to make their mark and not bring anything Doctor Who back, like any alien species. It felt like when they did finally bring stuff that we would recognize, it was just kind of treading already well-trodden turf.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a phrase?
Sure. It is now.
I am curious for people who may have jumped into the Doctor Who world. They're maybe younger than us, and Jodie's their first or second Doctor. Maybe they started with Capaldi, and if any of this landed or felt like it was being told better. But I do agree that, well, I could kind of enjoy parts of episodes. I think it fell flat is a pretty accurate description.
I think that's a fair observation, what Nick is saying, even from maybe somebody young, whoever, who might be newer to the whole Doctor Who franchise altogether. I still don't think the storylines even stood out, even if you are new to it. And I'm not even sure that the way that they were written out even make a whole lot of cohesive sense as it is. And I still think a lot of the plot lines that were being used have been essentially recycled, not even subtly.
I mean, we were watching the Dalek one, and I was like, this is just the Ironside Daleks, which we already had.
The New Year special.
The New Year special, yeah. It was literally the exact same plot, except for that episode made sense because there's World War II when no one would know what a Dalek is, and so you could have somebody make them and not recognize what they were. Like, I was just getting so frustrated watching it.
I don't know. I guess I expected more from this as a whole. I loved Chris Chibnall's work on Broadchurch. I thought that was such a fantastic show, and I had high hopes for him here since he was, oh yeah, I'm a fan and all this stuff. And he's fallen flat, and fans have really been quite vocal about that as well. And again, there's nothing remarkable about this season. There just isn't. Someone had just recently said it was treading water. Things were recycled. There was nothing new and exciting. And when they tried to make something new and exciting, which I won't go into it in detail now because I know we'll talk about it later, but in the Timeless Children episode,
the burning of 50 years of continuity.
Yeah.
I mean, and just look at the start of the season, too.
Swing and a miss. Yeah.
All the work that went into previous writers bringing back Gallifrey and the Time Lords, slow, steady. I mean, even like when you watch when the Doctors teamed up, 11 and 10, and them saving Gallifrey, and it was a big emotional moment for Doctor Who fans. And then to just like arbitrarily be like, nope, they're all dead again just because I decided they're all dead again. Happened off screen, move on.
Yep.
Like that felt like, it just felt like so lazy.
Well, I think, again, he was trying to make his own
mark.
I think that he was trying too hard to make his own mark, but not even understanding conceptually how Doctor Who functions. Like, yes, it's kind of it evolves as it goes. It's got a long mythology, like we all know that, but you have to, again, be very careful with your choices. And I can see from like one stance thinking but yeah, it's too much of a ripping of a Band-Aid of something that was already so well established. And it takes away, at least in my perspective, and maybe not everybody feels that way, but it takes away the importance or the impact of some of the previous pieces that have been put into it. So I don't know if everybody else felt that way, but that's definitely how I felt about it.
I felt the same way. And, I feel like with this whole Chris Chibnall era here, that once he's done at the end of the season that's currently airing right now in, 2021, 2022, I feel like if you're ever going to chat with somebody and like, watch Doctor Who, you could probably skip over, unfortunately,
like this whole
chunk, because I feel like they're going to retcon it and make it.
They are going to retcon it.
They almost have to. They piss people off so bad. And it's just so sad for Jodie Whittaker because she had such a strong start and I really liked her. It literally all goes to the writing.
Yeah, she had horrible material. She's wonderful. I think she's a brilliant actress. She's had horrible material and it's only gotten worse. And, again, probably jumping the gun here, I'm not surprised that she's done after this, upcoming season 13 that's going on now, that she's quits. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate because she already had such a feat and some adversity to overcome coming into it. We talked about it at length before. I agreed with what everybody else is saying too, but the only reason I didn't mention that in the intro piece is just because we had talked about it before, that Jodie is pretty much, for this season, the high point was Jack returning for me, but she is the only high point. But then at the same time, because of the way things are kind of planned out, like, again, I think I've talked about it before, like even the companions, I don't necessarily dislike them, but I don't even feel the same emotion. I say this in like every podcast and show that I'm on, but like character development and connection is pretty much the biggest driving force for me when I'm watching things. And I just still, after these episodes, I don't have the same emotional connection to these companions as I have as pretty much most of the previous ones. Like, it's not, I don't dislike them. I just don't have that same connectivity with them. And I don't know why that is either. Again, if it's because of the storylines, if it's because of the tone, if it's just all of it together. But that's another thing that I've continued to struggle with while I'm watching it. Because part of what got me hooked back when Doctor Who was becoming so big in the US. It was just the magic, and that's the best word that I can think of. And I just don't feel it with what's been presented so far. I don't feel that same level of magic and chemistry. I'm not feeling that same level of chemistry, even though Jodie is enjoyable to watch and her portrayal is really fun, but it is wasted.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with the other seasons in the past, something that's drawn me in is like an overall arcing like storyline, like the bad wolf thing and the crack in the wall, just there hasn't been something like that has compelled me and that has like tied the season together. And I really was waiting for that. Like I keep waiting for that. And then I thought that it was going to be Captain Jack this time. And I kept waiting for him to come back, but then he just didn't even come back until the end. And I was like, oh, that was a wasted opportunity because they could have like woven him in more and he could have traveled with them. Give us what we want, I guess, is what I'm asking. But I just am missing that.
There's been a lot of shows, not just Doctor Who, but they've gotten criticism from fans or whoever regarding like, do we do an overall like arcing story or have elements that tie together, or do we just do a story of the week, a monster of the week? And I think that was kind of a criticism with Doctor Who before, that you really couldn't be a casual fan and just tune in for Monster of the Week, because there would be the crack in the wall, there would be the bad wolf elements to it that people found confusing. So I know that there's arguments for both, but I agree with you. I missed the overall, something that ties everything together thematically.
So I have two reactions to what was just said. I think the idea of waiting and kept waiting, what Sarah just said about kept waiting for things. I think that actually really accurately describes my reactions, particularly to this season, but maybe overall Jodie's tenure on this show. The first episode, Spyfall Part 1, even though I had an inkling that Sacha Dhawan was going to be the master by the end of the episode, that episode was pretty good at building some anticipation. And I thought, well, maybe there's going to be something really huge that comes off of this, and the ending was a really good cliffhanger. I mean, I felt some forward momentum off that premiere, but then it just went downhill for the rest of the series. And as you've noted, the Captain Jack pieces were fun, and it was wonderful to see John Barrowman on the show again, but they ultimately didn't land anywhere either. And it felt like they were doing that a little bit with each of the pieces that they were pulling in. So, but then to the idea of the arc, so I think in the first Jodie series, and they did this also when it was Moffat and the Peter Capaldi era, I think they've tried to slingshot back towards something that's more episodic or monster of the week. But I think viewers now, especially the ones that find these shows, and I think of things like Supernatural, and I think of things like the superhero shows themselves, and all, sort of the genre shows that appeal to fans of both this show and others. They kind of expect something, a through line that ties it all together, even if that through line isn't necessarily ultimately that well developed or that deep. And I think they were going for that here. The problem is the way the progression of the series happened. It came out very, very late, and it was almost like it was shoved all into one smushy thing in the last 3 episodes of the season, especially with the Timeless Child. And then that goes back to something, Hillary does mention that she likes character development. For me, it's continuity. Like, I will relate to the characters as long as you give me a good, solidly developed story around the characters. I don't mind these companions either, but the continuity thing is huge, what they did for this series. Like, the choices they made with the Cybermen, with the Timeless Child. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what they were trying to do, but there are other franchises that have gone on for decades, like Star Trek, and they don't throw bombs at their prior incarnations and undermine everything, even if there are some twists and weird tweaks in later series like Discovery, which we'll talk about on our Star Trek 50 Plus series.
I was going to say, though, they do like to give Spock random siblings we've never heard of.
But
explain that.
yes, but is that the same as destroying Gallifrey and saying that the Doctor is spoiler, somehow the seed of all Time Lordship? No, it's not, Kyle. So
No, God, even when you say it like that, I just hate it. Oh. I just hate it. It's
too much to put on one character to now that's the history that we have. Everything we've learned is a lie. This is all
doesn't even make sense. Because like in other Doctors, he's traveled to the start of Time Lord civilization. We've physically seen the real history of Gallifrey multiple times, and this doesn't line up with anything at all. So you can't even be like, oh, his memory's wrong. No, because he literally revisited it. We've seen it. Oh, it makes me so mad.
In the whole continuity with each person from Gallifrey gets X number of lives, and they've already reset that with Matt Smith. They somehow granted them more lives, but now who knows how many times the Doctor has regenerated now because
there's no stakes.
Yeah,
there's no stakes anymore.
My understanding was they didn't grant all the other Time Lords. It's just the Doctor that has this infinite amount of regenerations. But I have a question about that because was not Missy Master's final incarnation at the end of 12's tenure? Wasn't that established that she was the last Master, or supposed to be? And they didn't actually explain, I mean, as charismatic as he was, it didn't actually explain how this Master came to be.
See, I still didn't even oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Sarah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just assumed that he was before Missy, and it's a different point in time because it all confuses me anyway. That was what I assumed.
Oh.
So yeah, but the Master, I'm not as worried because...
I just don't even like the Master now. I'm sorry.
I'm just clarifying this for Kylie. The Master had already ran out of lives way back during the 8th Doctor. He figured out how to be like a vampire and steal them from other Gallifreyans.
The movie.
And then during the Time War, they granted him 12 more regenerations if he would join the Time Lord's side against the Daleks. So we don't know what life he's on.
Okay. Well, thank you for clarifying that. I have still not watched the 8th Doctor movie. Sorry.
It's okay.
That's all right. You said I'm asking a question.
Yeah, there's a lot of Doctor Who.
There sure is.
Yeah,
there was something final about the last Master's death, though, that made me think, how is the Master back? And I can't remember now.
Yeah, that's what I'm reacting to as well, Nick. And I can't remember.
It was something with John Sim coming back, and it was like, this is it. This is how it's over by my own hand. I can't remember the details now.
Yeah.
That's why somebody already said there's no stakes with the infinite lives and stuff, but I also felt like it's really getting hard to care when the Daleks come back, when the Cybermen come back, when the Master comes back, because it doesn't seem to matter what happens in that specific episode, which means that the episode has to be much better than what we've seen. So it's just really hard. It's really hard. We've had a couple of really good Doctors and episodes where they bring enemies and not just companions, but people who've helped Doctors throughout their series together in this grand moment. I think I don't know. I don't think they know what to do anymore with the show. Hopefully with the changeover, we'll get something back. But I was resonating with what Hillary was saying. Like the magic's gone. I enjoyed this season, and even with its problems, I enjoyed it, but it was definitely like a carbon copy of what I felt watching the show before.
It was like an overcorrection. So you were the one who brought up, Nick, that they were trying to steer completely away from all of Doctor Who past. The problem is the fans didn't like that because it was way too far away. What they really should have been trying to figure out is how to balance all of these elements. I mean, you've got a very vociferous fandom, but then you also have some fairly established writers that, love them or leave them, have done pretty well by this character. And I don't think that Chris Chibnall really knew what he was walking into when he took on this job, because there's just so much that you kind of have to keep in mind, and then you also have to be able to think outside the box. And I think what the problem was is there wasn't enough transition, enough establishing of moving from old to new and easing people away from what was familiar into what was unfamiliar. They just started with a bunch of unfamiliar in a very hodgepodgey type of fashion in the last season, and then overcorrected by throwing everything you could ever think of as being familiar at you this season. And going back to like the Daleks.
I'm not doing it well.
And going back to the Daleks, we'll get to this when we talk about the revolution of the Daleks, but did anybody really actually miss when the Doctor says, as long as there's genetic material out there, a Dalek's consciousness can still exist, which basically gives the show an out for Daleks ad infinitum for the rest of the time that Doctor Who exists, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but it's like ham-fisting here's our explanation. This is why the Daleks continue to thrive, because their consciousnesses are in their genetic material.
No, it's stupid. It's just as bad as what they did with the Doctor and the Master and the rest of it itself. Like, what the heck? I mean, even Superman is not like the, like, I don't like it. I'm sorry.
Again, like, the stakes are gone.
There's nothing, there's no, like, when you go back and you think of every single of the modern Doctors, every single one of them, whether they're your favorite or not your favorite, or your first Doctor experience or whatever, I would agree that all of us feel that there is, like I said, at least some high-level moments of impact in each Doctor. And then we come to this, there is nothing, I mean, they're making these grand statements about what they're changing in this mythology, but it's not making an impact, which speaks louder than anything else. It's just not the right call. And I understand that they're trying to do something different and, again, make his mark. But yeah, I'm almost wondering, did he have a plan? Like, he was excited to be a part of the franchise, but did he, to me, it feels like he didn't really have a plan going into it. And yes, as trying to do all the corrections. I agree with what you said, Kylie. I think that was probably, everything that you said was pretty much probably true. It's just unfortunate where we're at this point. And also, I think Kyle was pointing out, or I think he mentioned earlier that, the viewership of Doctor Who has taken a giant snow dive.
Yeah, I was reading an article. It has about the same ratings it did in 1989 when it got canceled. So we're at its second lowest point in its history of its run.
That's really sad. So,
spoiler, that's why they're bringing back a previously beloved showrunner to take over from Chibnall when he leaves at the end of this year.
Yes, Russell T. Davies, which we'll talk about momentarily, is going to be assuming the showrunner reins once again. He was showrunner over 9 and 10. He was the showrunner over 9 and 10. So Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant, he was their showrunner until it switched over to Stephen Moffat for Matt Smith. And he's the one that birthed a lot of fun new villains, like, for example, the Weeping Angels, who are supposed to return in the new series. That's been foreshadowed and have some interesting new twist along with them. So hopefully he can save the franchise, because it sounds like we're at a point where it needs saving, which is so super sad, because yes, I do like Jodie a super lot. She would be fun to cosplay too, because it looks really comfortable what she's wearing.
I have to also say, though, I will just point this out, that I think for the average person, at least in America, I don't know about other countries, because it's not streaming anywhere right now, I think that makes it really hard to follow too, especially if you're lukewarm about it. Then you're not going to seek it out and be willing to pay for cable. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like more and more people are going to just streaming services, and
So
it's not
it is
easy to
actually
find right now.
It is actually streaming. It's streaming, not the new season. The new season is held proprietarily by BBC until it finishes airing, but the older seasons of The Modern Doctor are now on HBO Max.
HBO Max.
Great.
Well, that still makes it more sad because it is accessible.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I didn't realize that they were now on HBO Max, which I don't have. But.
Yeah, that's a recent.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, there's so many streaming services out there.
And it's been bounced around. I mean, it was on Netflix for a while.
Amazon.
It was on Hulu. It was on
Yeah,
Amazon.
yeah.
It's been on all of the majors. So how it landed on HBO, I don't know. I didn't research that prior to sitting down for this recording, but Yeah, it's on HBO Max.
It's just sad because people that maybe, I feel like when it was on Netflix, a lot of people found it there, and it seems to be getting on more and more obscure streaming things. So people kind of have to know about it to seek it out. And I don't think that's helping it at all, because it's not like when it was David Tennant and Matt Smith, they seem to be the most popular too. And so people were really excited and maybe would have been willing to, it's on HBO now I have to pay for that. And they might have been willing to do that. But if they don't know about it, or they're not
they're not even trying to seek it out. And the word of mouth has gone down. And I'll use this as another barometer too. I mean, we just went to our first convention back from not going to conventions because of our COVID lives. And, you can tell, again, the popularity of things. There's always a flux of popularity with what people dress up in cosplay as, and
what the vendors are selling.
And what the vendors are selling. And Doctor Who, which, again, at the end of Matt Smith going into Capaldi was like at its height. I mean, Doctor Who everywhere, nonstop. And you want to know what's really crazy? So John Barrowman, I go to John Barrowman's panel, like whether I'm able to like go up and say hi or get another picture with him or no matter what, because I'm always trying to meet new guests each time I go, but I always find a way to go to his panel. I've been to like literally probably 12, 13 John Barrowman panels. And normally there's so many questions. I mean, he comes in and he's wearing like his glittery TARDIS dress and the whole shebang. But the amount of questions asked about Doctor Who to John has gone down too. So it's just, I'm just saying, this whole experiment has made an impact, just not a good one.
That's really super sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like she was starting to say, this con, Doctor Who presence was non-existent. Nobody was selling art. Nobody was selling merchandise. Nobody was dressed up as anything even remotely Doctor Who. No Daleks going around. No cute little kids dressed up as Jodie Whittaker.
I saw one guy dressed up as Matt Smith's Doctor, but that was it.
Yeah, it was just surreal because you see that like everywhere you look at a con, there's something Doctor Who. And then it's like he had been wiped off the earth.
That's dramatic.
Yeah, that is very dramatic.
Gallifrey exploded.
Again,
is this the part where Martha has to walk around spreading the word
the good
about
news of the doctor?
The doctor again? Do we need to get Martha out of retirement?
I think that's Russell T Davies' job right now.
Yeah, it sure is. That was
he's
standing under him.
Russ is coming back to spread the good Who news. So
good Who news?
The good Who news.
Good Who news, everyone.
Yeah.
And there's the hashtag.
Yeah.
That's from Futurama. I can't do that.
Hey, the fourth Doctor was in an episode of Futurama.
That's true.
True.
There was a lot of things in episodes of Futurama. But that's for our Futurama podcast, which we've already done. Please see our archives on YouTube and at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com.
Yeah.
Going back, because I think definitely Sarah and Kristen pointed it out, and maybe Nick, I'm not sure. But even with us saying that we were happy that John/Captain Jack Harkness is back, what was there of him, even though, and I think for me, I was just happy to have some feeling come out of the show. He still was completely underutilized.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that in and of itself, even though I was so happy to see him, because it's almost disappointing that still this is the way I did get to see him.
He had fun moments. It was fun with his reaction or his interactions with the companions about the Doctor, but it is a perfect example of this whole season seemed more like them telling us they have a story they're going to tell instead of telling us there's a story.
Yep.
It was just really a weird pop in to say, hey, we're going to tell a story with this character eventually.
Well,
just show us that.
It's like forced fan service.
It was fan service.
But it still
wasn't
the service that the fans wanted.
Yeah, it wasn't
really
good fan service because ultimately part of what makes Captain Jack so fun, other than John's portrayal of him, is when he interacts with the Doctor character themselves. And he didn't even do that in the first episode he was on. He only interacted with the companions. And there's so much missing there because these companions didn't know who he was. Oh, we have a cameo appearance by junior podcaster Lily.
He's so cute.
Hi, Lily.
Smiley. Oh, those eyes.
Hi, Lily.
She's like, her mind is blown right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You guys make the best babies, I'm just saying. You do.
I love her.
Thank you.
Thank you. We like them, but
That's good. It's hopeful.
That's important.
Aw.
Look at her face. She is like, oh my gosh, Mom.
Yeah, what's going on?
I see Dad in the
People talking to
TV.
This is how this season of Doctor Who made her feel.
That face is the same face I made when I learned about the Timeless Child. I was like,
Before we jump there, I want to make sure we had our enough talk about Captain Jack before Lily appeared because she's lovely but distracting.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I thought we established.
well, I mean, look at the episode he appeared in. He appeared right as we were learning the Timeless Child twist. So it's like he knew he was going to piss fans off. So he was like a magician. He's like, look at this hand. It's Captain Jack. You love him. Oh, I'm going to burn down 50 years of continuity
Yeah,
while you're not paying attention.
I don't think he knew that he was going to piss people off. I think he thought he was doing something badass, but it was not.
No.
Well,
That's really what I thought. I think he was trying to do something dramatic to the mythology. And he did. It just
Backfired.
It was not a good choice. I'm sorry.
Did anyone like the Tesla episode or?
We can talk before we get to that Timeless Child business because that is technically the season finale. Were there any episodes that you enjoyed up until the point? Even a little bit? Even a slight touch?
I was so excited for the Master, and like when they showed the first pictures of him, I thought like, oh, he looks like he would have been an awesome Master for like Matt Smith because he has that same dapper look. Mm-hmm. But he played it so cheesy.
It was. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it.
It's like he got the look down, but the way he was playing him, like
he
lost me almost immediately.
Mustache.
Yeah, it's so disappointing because he's such a great actor. I've
seen
him in other things, and he's always top notch.
He was in Sherlock. He was in Iron Fist, of course, as the villain. We've covered things with Sacha Dhawan on this podcast before.
Always good. And again, I think it's the fault of the writing with this season. And I know we've said that on other panels too, that, you know, the writing can be the downfall. It doesn't matter how much talent you have. If they have bad material, there's only so much they can do. And I feel like it was his downfall too. He brought as much to it as he could, but the writing was just really bad.
I agree with Kristen because the first episode before the reveal that he was the Master came out, I thought his performance as sort of this helper person to the cause was relatively intriguing. And he wasn't playing it over the top at that point. He wasn't going full on Master, quote unquote, at that point. And so I kind of harken back to what I said earlier. Spyfall Part 1 gave me some anticipatory vibes. Like I was ready for the season after that. The reveal was in the very last seconds. I thought, okay, cool, he's the Master, this is going to be fun. But then I do think it's the writing. I agree with you, Kristen. I think it's the writing, not necessarily his performance. And the episode directors. There was a lot of just mixed bag directing even in terms of how each episode was presented. Like, I don't think there is one episode that I can say, no, the Teslas one was probably one of my least favorites, Nick, that you brought that up. Was that on purpose?
I was just curious because it's separate. It is the most separate from what their overall story was trying to tell because it was just a history story. But
I'm fine with the mixture. I'm fine with the separate episodes if they're good.
But yeah, that's what I was wondering if anyone.
No.
I feel like everything, like the Spyfall and the Tesla, everything could have been good. There could have been good ideas. It could have been better written. It could have been, but it just wasn't.
Yeah. I don't mind episode 8, The Haunting of Villa Diodati, which is Mary Shelley's episode. I thought there were some good ideas in that did launch the Cyberman return, and it wasn't a typical Cyberman story. But I then again complain about the fact that this was the ultimate arc they were building off of, and it was episode 8 that they put it in there.
See, here's my problem with that, and there's actually
Pacing problem.
There's actually, for some reason, it's a trope now, and there's so many sci-fi stories where somebody goes back in time and gives Mary Shelley the idea to write Frankenstein.
Yes.
I get
Thank
so
you.
insulted by that. Because it's always like, oh, this man inspired her to write Frankenstein or something. It's like, give the woman some due. She was a teenager, and she changed popular fiction and science fiction and horror.
And she was the daughter of an already well-established female author anyway.
So that episode I automatically hate because I hate that trope.
What?
I hate movies that do that.
Oh, what, Kylie?
I just liked the tone of it, and I liked the spooky Cybermen piece of it.
She was just trying to find a positive.
I was just trying to find a positive. I wasn't even resting on, I'm so offended by that, because really up until that point, I was coasting with the season as it was. I was just trying to figure out if I even liked any of the stories that were being told. And then they hit us with the Timeless Child.
Yeah. I just felt kind of numb watching most of it.
Coasting is kind of numb. I would say that's true, but maybe less numb than Hillary.
Trying to remember back, because it has now been a while since we watched this, but it felt like they thought they were doing something very grand, but I wasn't sure what they wanted us to get out of what we were watching. Like, I don't know what the point was of the, I don't know. Would you even call it a cliffhanger at the end of the season?
No, because it didn't cliffhang necessarily into the next.
No, it just made a grand statement. I don't even think it was. I mean, no. I'll bet you the problem is that. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that they were trying to cliffhanger this. At least that's not the way I perceived it. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe that was his version of a cliffhanger, but it didn't feel like a cliffhanger to me either. It just felt like this is the big reveal for my thing. That's the way I perceived it.
And she
I don't even remember what it is. Somebody remind me. Like, literally, it made no impact on me.
It's when the Doctor finds out. Well, first of all, the Master has destroyed Gallifrey, and the reason why he's destroyed Gallifrey is because he found out that the Doctor can infinitely regenerate because the Doctor holds the genetic code from whence all other Time Lords were birthed in and continually reproduced throughout time and space, I guess.
And that came from another species.
Yeah, essentially the Doctor is not a Time Lord. He's from another universe.
Dumb.
He's the last survivor and super special. And there have been millions of Doctors. He's lived millions of lives. He has an infinite amount of regeneration energy. He can heal. He can resurrect anybody. And he just forgot all this. And somehow these other millions of Doctors had TARDISes that looked like blue boxes, even though we saw when that glitch happened in the original series. Yeah, none of it makes any sense if you stop to think about it for even a minute. It really doesn't make sense if you've ever even watched Doctor Who.
It was a massively undercutting storyline for every single Doctor that ever existed.
The character growth, especially.
Since the TV show began.
Because there was that other Doctor that kept showing up, right? And
Yeah.
was it a past Doctor or future, or we still don't know?
It was a past Doctor. It was before the first Doctor, but it still had a blue box, even though the first Doctor's box we saw when the chameleon ship broke, and it turned into that.
Now, I'm along for the ride of maybe there are some repressed regenerations because we found out that the War Doctor was a repressed regeneration.
Yeah, that's fine.
It wasn't even repressed. He knew it.
He knew it.
He just didn't talk about it.
Well, he was trying to repress it because he was ashamed of it.
But they still recognized him. They still knew who he was. They just said, we don't talk about him.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is like, so repressed has two shades. You're taking me very literally. All I'm saying is that the idea is that, yeah, there are these other forgotten, and I'm putting that in quotes, whether they're actually forgotten or just forgotten in terms of the timeline that's being depicted for the viewer, these regenerations, and now we know that there could be, as Kyle said, literally millions of them. And the lady that kept showing up, yeah, was supposed to be pre-First Doctor, which on the one hand sort of answers the question of the Doctor can be literally anybody and any person in any shade.
Stupid. I'm over it.
What? I just don't understand why they ignore. I guess I have legitimate questions, and they're not like unanswered questions from the show, but there are. I mean, some are, and some are just characters that we know exist that I don't know why they're not revisiting. It's not like Romana and the Doctor's family, and like there's a lot they could, like, that could have been someone instead of, we could have gotten to Gallifrey, and now we're going to deal with stories on Gallifrey a little bit more in the next season. It could have, I just feel like there's so much potential with this series.
Well,
There is.
And this was a weird
There's
swing
a lot
that didn't
of-
land.
Yeah, there is a lot of untapped possibility. And instead of utilizing that, like we've already rehashed in different ways, he did something completely different. And everything about those choices were just not right.
And now we're kind of screwed because they either have to deal with those choices or completely ignore it. And
Kristen said they're going to retcon it altogether.
Who said that?
Kristen said at the beginning that they're going to have to retcon it altogether, or they're likely going to.
They're likely, that's a prediction. Yeah.
I don't know what that means. How?
It just means they're gonna make it work. They're gonna somehow come up with an explanation, or they're just gonna
come up with an explanation that makes it like it didn't happen.
Yeah, because remember too,
like what they did with the Klingons looking different. Is that like that?
Kristen can't answer that question.
I can't answer that because I don't watch Star Trek, but I'm assuming yes. If they gave you an explanation as to why, then yes.
Kyle can probably help.
So,
I think the better example with the Klingons of retcon is when Worf in Deep Space Nine was like, we just don't talk about it. Well, maybe that's not a better example.
Retcon literally means they're going to find some way to erase what they've already done by retelling it.
Yeah.
It's what Enterprise did with the Klingons.
That's for our Star Trek 50 Plus series podcast, which most of this panel is on, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, the current theory of how they're going to retcon it is they're going to say that the Timeless Child was actually the Master, and he's lying to mess with the Doctor. And that he's not from Gallifrey, and that's why he killed everybody. Because he figured out his harsh truth, and that's how he can still be alive.
All of us could have conceptualized this series better than they did.
Yeah.
Why don't they call us?
I mean,
I don't know.
Maybe our panel hasn't jumped across the pond yet. Maybe they haven't found us yet.
That doesn't explain why DC hasn't asked us to make a Batman show.
They're in Canada.
Eventually.
Right? I mean, we've been trying to help out Warner Brothers, too, for some time.
Long time. One thing to keep in mind, though, too, is that, yes, they're going to have to fix some of these major continuity errors because the 60th anniversary is coming up in like 2 years. I think it's, 2023?
It is.
So, and Russell T. Davies will be back at the helm by that point, and that's another big anniversary episode special that he's going to have to do.
They're already percolating rumors that they're going to, not Christopher Eccleston, but they're going to bring back a whole bunch of the prior Doctors.
Else. Well, and it's like the Day of the Doctor was seriously one of the, it's still, like, I've gone back and rewatched just that so many times because of the amount of joy it brings me.
I'm afraid the 60th will feel like a 60th special instead of them telling an amazing, worthwhile story like they did with the Day of the Doctor. Like, that doesn't feel like an anniversary special.
I mean, I'm feeling like it's going to be a big story. It's going to be like Day of the Doctor.
Because A, Russell Davies will have the helm by then. B, that's actually what I've been trying to say at a few points up until this point when we were talking about untapped potential. The Day of the Doctor, the 50th anniversary special, actually seeded a bunch of things that could have been developed on in the Peter Capaldi era and the Jodie Whittaker era that were not developed on, including the idea that the Doctor can revisit faces. So we got to see that little cameo at the end with Tom Baker as the curator. They made a very heavy point
magical.
Saying it.
Mm-hmm. Where's the magic?
It's coming back. It's coming back. It's fine. It's coming back.
So there's a whole bunch of things in. Yes, exactly. Kyle did the fourth Doctor's nose gesture. So, who knows? Exactly. So there was a lot of stuff, and even not just that end tag, but stuff that they said all along in that 2 hours or whatever it is of that special. There were things that they talked about that they could have further developed. Nobody ever picked up those threads and did it, including Moffat in the Capaldi era. So the question really becomes just how effective future showrunners, including Russell Davies, since he's coming back, are going to be able to handle balancing out what has been told in these recent Doctors series versus what has been told in the beginning of the modern era versus the classic era as well. It's just...
Well, here's the way I'm going to choose to look at it. Not all of even like the classic doctors are all winning situations. So maybe this is just our modern slump and we'll be able to move on from it. I'm going to try to see.
Are you saying that this is the sixth Doctor of the modern era?
I'm sorry. It's not her fault, though.
It's not her fault. No.
It's not her fault. Like, she's not cheesy or any of that stuff. It's just
Jodie would be incredible under Russ's leadership as showrunner. She would be phenomenal.
She's just a good actress, and I think she actually took the time to research this role before she took it. You know, she's been very bones about the fact that she's not been a big Whovian throughout her life, but she took on the role knowing just what she was walking into, which I don't know that Chris Chibnall did the same thing.
No. And we went to, when was the last time? I mean, even when we saw David Tennant at C2E2, I mean, he does a lot of conventions too, frequently. And he had said that at the time that Jodie was already reaching out to him frequently for his help and advice, and they're friends anyway. So yeah, it was important to her going into it. So it's just sad. I mean, but she can be brought back, yeah, maybe with the whole revisit faces thing. And
I want a 5 Doctors, like from the classic Who. And I almost think I want a wax figure of Christopher Eccleston as a throwback to Tom Baker's appearance in the 5 Doctors.
It might have to be, because Chris has already gone on record to say he's not coming back because Russell Davies is going to be the showrunner again.
hey man, Paul McGann's 8th Doctor, when he came back for his half-an-hour Night of the Doctor episode, that was fucking awesome.
That was
Bring him back.
Just said the F.
What are you doing? This is a family show.
But you know what, Nick?
I get passionate about my 8th Doctor, and I love that they gave him that episode.
I know.
Gala freaking out.
Since they made the 5 Doctors.
Everybody's trying for this secret
Never
hashtag.
mind it. The big.
Yeah.
Gala freaking out. What the hell is that?
Yeah. There's a perfect example of a Doctor Who retcon for Sarah, is that little half-hour episode, The Night of the Doctor, that did the transition from the 8th Doctor to the War Doctor, and then we saw them transition the War Doctor into Eccleston.
And the Day of the Doctor.
Yep.
Did I see that?
That's the fifth. Well, the half-hour special, maybe not. Nick can clarify. But the Day of the Doctor was the 50th anniversary.
He's like, I don't know.
Yeah, essentially, when they did Day of the Doctor, they did a little half-an-hour episode a week before called The Night of the Doctor that showed the 8th Doctor and how he died. And as he's regenerating, he chose to be the War Doctor. He decided not to help people, but to become a soldier. And he got to choose his regeneration.
Yeah, he had like a special potion or something that he got to drink from these other celestial interdimensional beings or whatever.
I didn't see that, but I will say
it's worth
that
watching.
now I don't think they could put a wax figure of Eccleston because they'd still have to get his permission and pay him because the laws have changed.
The likeness.
And that happened because of Back to the Future Part 2. There's some trivia.
Time travel.
Crispin Glover.
Yes, we can thank Crispin Glover.
Here's the thing, though. He might say yes to the wax doll as long as he doesn't have to physically do it. Because he does the radio programs now. So he's still telling 9th Doctor stories. He just, for whatever reason, he won't work directly like with the BBC
He just
television.
needs to,
And specifically Russell Davies. That article I read like 6 weeks ago. He does not want to work with Russell Davies. He feels real burned by whatever happened during his year on the show, and he's never forgotten it.
Who looks enough like him?
You'd only have to see him from the back.
Like, I think I understand where he's coming from, but really, even though he does a lot of different things, it's still what he's always going to be best known for. And I just feel like maybe let it be about other things. I mean, I don't know what the severity of their situation is. I don't know. But I feel like it's such a missed opportunity.
We have enough other doctors at this point, though.
That's true.
I mean, Sylvester McCoy's still acting, and
Matt Smith says he wants to come back. Like
Yes, bring Sylvester McCoy back, please.
I mean, and David Tennant can just ask his father-in-law to come back.
Yep.
I think Colin Baker's out there, but he might be minimally canceled.
Well, he's retconned his own retcon to his own reaction to the whole the Doctor can never be a woman thing. He's now like, she did a good job. I hope the next Doctor does a good job. That's not how Colin Baker talks.
You can get that one guy from Harry Potter to play the first Doctor again, right?
That's true.
That's his job now.
Yeah.
That's his job now.
Because there's no more Harry Potters? Is that what you're saying? He was also in Broadchurch.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I think he's a good actor. I just can't recall his name.
I mean, he's also in Game of Thrones.
And Afterlife, he's really good.
He gets around, that guy. He does the
Yeah,
work.
great.
So, I can't remember his name right now either. I just remember
Well, and like I think
Argus
it's
Phillips.
and if we want to keep the Harry Potter going, the second Doctor, his like grandson or great grandson was Dudley Dursley in Harry Potter, and now he was just in the Queen's Gambit too, and he's a phenomenal actor, and he looks a lot like his grandpa. So he
And
could come
Patrick
back and play the second
Troughton.
Doctor.
Oh yeah, we got Patrick Troughton's kid or grandson was in an episode of Doctor Who, and then we can also always get Alfred from
Sean Pertwee.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
To be
He just
Dr.
dressed up.
Three.
He just dressed up as his dad's doctor for Halloween, and he looked exactly like him.
He did. It was crazy.
Let's do it. Let's just get all the kids and grandkids.
Everything's just
and-
coming.
Doctors.
Circle of
And
life.
Dr. Donna.
Yes, Dr. Donna.
There is a division of people that do not like the Donna Noble and do like the Donna Noble on this panel. I enjoy Catherine Tate, but...
Yeah.
I think all of it is amazing compared to what we've had recently.
Correct.
So I'm going to ask this question. Thanks for... The new series has started, so I'm going to rephrase some of the prediction questions. What do you hope this new series will focus on, or wish, or what do you hope they will do, or what questions do you have leading into this 13th series?
That's tough, because like I said earlier, I don't know what they could do. I don't know what they can do that would make me have enjoyed what I just watched. I need a hard pivot.
They're gonna.
Yeah.
The only way I think this series is gonna be successful, and this is actually something I was going to say earlier, because they gave the Doctor a little bit of she in the Revolution of the Daleks, which was the New Year special from 2021, when she's in that prison, the Void prison or whatever it was. She does spend a minute amount of time in her lengthy stay processing her new way of being, but not so much, because she's got all these distractions and she's kind of psychologically affected by the end of that special. They can't ignore what they've done. If they completely ignore it in terms of retconning or doing whatever they were going to do, I think this show will be done. I don't think Russell Davies will be able to save it. It's such a big thing that they did. They're gonna have to have a really big way of digging back out of it, whatever that looks like. Even if it is the Master being the timeless alien child instead of the Doctor, although I don't know that I like that any better. But whatever it is, they have to dig themselves out of it. Or how can they continue to tell this story and the 50 years previous fueling it? That's my number one wish. I don't care what else they do.
I'm always nervous about the Weeping Angels. I just feel like their first episode was the best way to tell a story about the Weeping Angels, and they haven't been able to recapture that.
No, I love the Matt Smith two-parter with them, where they had them in the caves with the River Song.
Yeah, the military one.
Yeah, and they were slowly regenerating from almost completely crumbled, and you got to see them fully heal themselves, and him being really on the defensive warpath with them, not being
I was also
merciful at
fine
all.
with them being the villain that end up. I was fine with. That's Amy and Rory's exit, and that I freaking still bawl my freaking eyes out with Amy and Rory. And it's because of the Weeping Angels. I love the Weeping Angels altogether. I just hope they don't biff it, because, again, it's another thing that's, I wasn't happy with what they've done with. I'm fine with us revisiting villains. And I'm even fine with some beats being revisited, too. But, again, you can do it with intelligence, and it just hasn't happened. So I just don't want them to biff on the Weeping Angels either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with Hillary and Kyle. I know what you're saying, Nick. They were probably the most impactful and the most scary in Blink when they first appeared. But I also agree that they found good ways of using them later that maybe didn't carry the same amount of scary or creepiness factor, but were still impactful in the moment.
I'm just nervous about them coming back again, especially with what we've seen these people do with their storylines.
Yeah, I'm hopeful because out of all the species, the Weeping Angels have the most blank of a past. We know they have a combined history with Time Lords. I don't know if anyone remembers in the last David Tennant episode when Razwan, when a Time Lord is in shame, they have to cover their face like a weeping angel of old. So like there's this combined history there that I would love to delve into. Like they've had hints of it in Blink and in that episode. So like there's a lot more potential with them versus the Cyberman and the Daleks.
Yeah. I think the Russell era, the David Tennant seasons and specials had a lot of seeds that he can yank into sort of these future incarnations, because my sense of it was, and remember I kind of caught up on this show into, Matt Smith was already airing when I picked up Doctor Who. So I was catching up in a streamed, bingey type fashion through the 9th and 10th Doctors, and I just recall there was a lot of sort of softball setups out of the 10th Doctor that Stephen Moffat, some of them he took, some of them he didn't, but kind of strung through into Matt Smith's era. And I feel like there are things that weren't, that could be brought forward here too for whoever Doctor 14 ends up being. We're on 14, right? Yeah, 14.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's Tom Baker. We'll get the backstory on the curator.
I really want that to be a thing. It's
I know,
almost
right?
10 years ago, like, and Tom Baker can't. He's so old now. He can't come back. Like, what are we gonna do? So they gotta figure something. They have to figure out something, because that was a really tantalizing thing they dropped. And I also, like Hillary, watch The Day of the Doctor periodically just because it's so much fun. It stands on its own. You've got the two best doctors. You've got all these possibilities. You've got a writer that really cared about the franchise and pulled in all the fun things to make you have the feels. And golly, I hope that happens again. Although we have a couple years for the 60th, but
like I just didn't even have any. I mean, at the end of it, you know, we say goodbye to like Graham and Ryan, and it's like I wasn't even like. Usually, there's yeah, you're kind of feeling along with the Doctor when there's a companion exit, and I just didn't even have that feeling.
2 seasons in, I can't even remember most of their names except for Yaz, just because it's
well, good. She's
a different
the one
name.
that's still there.
yeah, she's the one that stuck around. I like Graham. Of the three, I like Graham the best.
I don't dislike him.
Yeah. I felt a
I
little
just don't have any feeling.
Well, I felt a little bit of a twinge when there was this decision that they would leave. I didn't care so much that Ryan was leaving. He announced it first. But I did like their little bicycle scene. That was really cute.
It was fine until the cheesy Force ghost.
What do you mean?
What?
You know, the end of Return of the Jedi when he looks over and sees Obi-Wan and Yoda and they're having a little
Yes,
bike moment
I'm
and then they look
familiar
over and they
with the
see her.
term
Like, that's stupid as...
Kyle! I'm familiar with the term Force Ghost. What are you referring to in Doctor Who?
She shows up, the timeless child.
No, that was his mother.
His mom.
I
It's
guess
his grandma. It's Ryan's grandma, right?
It's the grandma.
It's his grandma.
And it wasn't
She
the
was my
first time it
favorite. I liked
happened.
her.
That was not the first time that happened. She did it before in the last season.
Oh, then it's doubly stupid. I forgot the first time.
But I mean, it was supposed to be homaging Star Wars. It was just because the episode starts off with
Trying to tell me what a Force Ghost is. Come on, Kyle.
You were staring at me blank, so I was like...
Because I didn't remember what you
I
were
was trying to
talking
remember
about.
that too. Yeah, it's like I didn't remember we had a Force Ghost sighting, but I also blocked out a lot of this season.
That's all it was. Jeez.
All right. Anyways, I do still think the opening sequence is pretty dope.
Oh, God.
I'm trying to think of a positive thing.
I have a question. Do we know for sure they're doing something special for the 60th?
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Because
been announced.
the next season, they're doing the 200th episode. Is the centenary special, like it has a special title for next season.
They're doing both things. I don't think they're going to ignore either one of those things because, you know, it's not dissimilar to when Star Trek was having its times of sag. They're going to, like, throw everything they got to kind of add juice back to the momentum of this fandom, I think.
Like bring Neil Gaiman back?
Sure.
Why not?
Why not?
I think he and Russ are still friends, right?
He's hanging around. He does all sorts of stuff. That guy's got his hands in everything, Neil Gaiman.
Yes.
Why not? Do you care about any... I realize that the Timeless Child reveal has made you all mad in relative areas of madness. Do you care
We're
about...
all a bit mad.
That's what I said, relative. So you have smaller mad, Kyle has bigger mad. So that's kind of where I'm going with it.
Mhm.
I was just confused.
As was I. Very confused. And so
Yeah.
the question is... It raises a lot of questions. Do you want those questions to be answered, or do you just want them to find a way out of it?
Find a way out. Go away. Get it out.
Go away. Go away.
Find a way out for me.
See, I like the established
Thumbs
character
up.
growth. I like the established character growth and the trajectory they brought the Doctor on, from crabby, selfish coward, and seeing his interactions with human make him grow, to have this other idea that he was always the Doctor and humans had no impact on what he's doing, and there's millions of them. To me, it just lessens so much of what we've seen.
Go away.
I just want them to deal with it. If they deal with it and it gets us back to the road we were on, great. That's kind of what I want.
I mean, if it's already so, again, conceptually, it is such a slap. Even if I have questions, I don't care about them. Like, I don't care about them. So I just think it's best. Sure. Of course, they're going to have to sort of explain something, but I don't care. I just want to get back to what it should be somehow.
Do you think there is any chance that Gallifrey still exists in any form?
Yeah, it will. It'll be in a pocket dimension again, or they'll be able to go back in time and save it. I mean, they're never going to let it die.
They're going to bring it back in the 60th and just retell that story from them.
I really hope that that's not true. Oh,
Oh.
be original. We've already pointed out that there are ways you can do it.
There's just a lot of deflation on this panel. The tone of the season was trying to evoke some scares. There was flesh-eating plastic. There was like the Daleks being all like virusy. There was the Cyberman who wasn't quite a Cyberman, fully transformed and had sort of less of a robotic presentation, was much more guided by human instinct. Did any of that resonate with you? Especially the horror fan I'm looking at in the upper left of my screen.
I mean, I kind of liked the big Dalek, the leader, when he reconstituted and he was riding the guy and controlling him like a puppet. I like that idea. But, like, that whole episode was a rip-off of 2 other Dalek episodes. So, like, I couldn't really get behind that. But I love that presentation of that Dalek. And that voice that they had for him was really different and distinguished from, like, how they sound when they're in their shells.
But still, I'm going to say that, again, even that, we've seen that in, like, other science fiction things. So whether it's just being homage-y or... maybe he didn't even realize that he was sampling from those things.
I mean, it's a direct homage to Robert Heinlein's The Puppet Master.
There's so many different things.
But-
I can literally think of 5 different things.
Well,
But anyway,
are there new
I thought it was
stories?
pretty cool.
What? You're making a smart-assy thing because you're doing your smirky thing. What?
Well, are there new stories? Or is it just different ways to tell them and we have to find entertaining ways?
You even yourself pointed out a couple of ways that they could have, and Sarah said could have, and Kylie said could have, Kristen said could have. I mean, of course, there's the established stories and mythology that they can always build and they can always evolve off of. That brings some fresh reality to what we've already seen. So every single one of us has pointed that out even in this conversation.
Yeah, there's storylines that they can
Yeah.
dive down with these characters.
Yeah, for sure. So I
But
do think... Go ahead.
I would say even the Weeping Angels, as awesome as Blink was, it was original and unique to the Doctor Who universe, but that concept of something that only moves when you don't see it had existed before. But sending you back in time, that was the twist. All right, that's all I have to say.
I know I have nothing to add and I don't know what to say. So we do know that this is Jodie Whittaker's final season, the season that is currently airing. We do know that Yaz stayed, and she also gets a new companion. I don't know anything yet about the new companion other than that he's male. I don't know if anybody has taken a sneak peek at the new season. Yes, no?
It tells one continuous story across 6 episodes.
Yes.
And I know what that story is because I just Googled it.
Okay, can you do it in a non-spoilery way? No?
No.
Okay, well then there's that. She also will have a couple of specials following that 6-episode story arc, so that she has, I think, ultimately 8 to 10 episodes total for her final run. Do you have any predictions at all about this upcoming season?
No.
I don't think we're going to like it.
Yeah, I think everyone's just like buying time until Russell comes back. It feels like the season's just going to be a waste of time to me.
I'll bet you there's a whole lot of people that just don't watch it all together.
Mm-hmm.
This is starting to feel like our DCTU series.
Well, here's the thing. The season was disappointing, and then we had time to simmer in it, like with all the scheduling stuff and like putting this off. So yeah, we got extra salty on it.
Well, that's real, Kyle. I'll give you that. Jeez. Well, golly, I feel bad. I feel kind of bad that we're in this spot for Doctor Who. I hope it gets better. Before I ask you the 2 questions that round out any of our water cooler episodes, is there anything else that you want to say about Series 12 of Doctor Who or anything upcoming in Series 13? Everybody's looking sort of tired and dejected.
That's how I feel, but they just leave me so confused when they go back to all these. Like I don't have a good memory for this. So like, oh, the Cybermen are back again. Didn't they go away? Like I just can't remember, and so it's not like it does seem like the same old thing over and over. So that's why I've kind of just been quiet for a couple minutes. But I mean, I would really hope that this new 6-episode arc really gets my attention. Come on, River Song, where are you at? Like, I don't know. I always ask for her, but
you do.
I don't have any predictions. I have lots of hopes because I like the Eccleston years. I like the Tennant and the Matt Smith, and the Capaldi had some highlights for me. But I don't want this to end my enjoyment of the show, but it's kind of a chore to watch it right now for me. So
I predict a reference to the face of Bo with Captain Jack coming back.
Is he coming back for sure?
I don't know.
No, I'm predicting
back because he was kind of
canceled
because of his on-set behavior that came out of being very inappropriate. And
but he apologized. That worked out, right?
He apologized, but it came out after the fact that he'd already shot all of his stuff for this last season with Jodie. So it sounds like he probably will not be welcome back onto the set in the future, but we'll see. Things may change.
I gotta Google. I missed all this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it when it came out.
What happened? I didn't see
Okay,
it.
so you know the guy that played Mickey?
Yeah.
Well, he's sexually harasses women really bad, and it came out. Like very aggressive, and to deflect from him, he put all the blame on the set, the sexual nature on the set, and how John Barrowman would show up pantsless, or he'd ruin takes by dropping his pants and exposing his genitals to people. Which he says he does that in good humor. It's nothing sexual. He talks about it all the time, and usually most of his coworkers were fine. They thought it was hilarious. But he put it out there to deflect from his very real transgressions. And it kind of worked because John Barrowman's a bigger name than him.
Yeah.
And because of the way that things, I will say in certain ways, people are more quick to, I don't know, how do I want to say this without...
Cancel people.
Yeah. Because John Barrowman, he's very free with nudity. But he doesn't do it in a sexual way. He does it in almost a naturalist way. And so for him, being naked on set isn't a big deal. He wasn't making it sexual or anything. But yeah, because he's the bigger name, because has more exposure, the media really lashed onto it. And they kind of glossed over the fact that it wasn't sexual. And they just were
And he's literally always talked about it. Even the first, again, I mentioned earlier, I've gone to every single panel and every con that I've been to that he's been at. And even the first one, probably, when was that? 2012 or something like that. And that was one of the first stories that he told, just because it always gets a laugh out of everyone that he was doing it on Torchwood. It just to help the camaraderie on the show. He's very, But because of that.
But Mickey was on the show years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So they're mad at him now because he brought that up now?
No, he was on the set of some other show and he did it. And then other people from Doctor Who were like, yeah, this is true. He was like that on our show too, but the BBC made us underplay it. And so he was in this big scandal from some other show.
Yeah, Mickey
And so
had a
basically
different job.
because of that and because of the way things are, then all these other things started saying, okay, we, yes, right now he started losing some opportunities because of it, basically.
So in the real world, when things happen, not in this film and television world, you tell John Barrowman that if he wants to play the character, he keeps his pants on, and if he does it, that's fine. Like, I'm a little shell-shocked by this news because I enjoy him.
Yeah, like they said he wouldn't be on any Arrowverse. They would not ask him back for any Arrowverse shows or anything like that. They just jumped right onto it without digging into his.
But really, he's better off in that scenario because those shows are garbage. But still,
that's a preview for a DCTU series, which is coming. Those of you who are crossover listeners, prepare yourselves. I don't think any of them are going to be that nice. They weren't last year.
But yes, the bottom line is it's unfortunate. Things are getting better for John Barrowman now. But there were a few months there where he was much more quiet on social media. Yes, he was just trying to deal with the backlash that was happening. I would say it was probably late spring, springtime. Does that sound right? Springtime into the summer. And then it started to kind of get better towards the end of the summer. But yeah, and he even did a couple of statements about it. And a lot of, John Barrowman has such a strong fan base because he is one of the nicest celebrities out there. He's nice to everybody and welcoming to everybody. A lot of people jump to his defense, but so super happy podcast.
I know.
I'm not going to make any predictions since I know what Flux, the 6-episode arc, is about. But the really interesting thing is that there's already quite a few articles out there talking about why, when Russell T Davies takes back the helm, why he needs to completely abandon any references to the Timeless Child. Don't touch it. Just let it die with Chibnall, just because there are other things that should have been done to let us learn more about who the Doctor is and why they keep their name a secret, why they keep their identity a secret, instead of completely blowing up the identity that we don't even know about.
I still need to know what happened to Susan, his granddaughter, man.
Seriously, that's
the big one for me too.
Yeah.
Well,
but I think ever since Capaldi had her picture on his desk, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they know that character exists. Do more.
Yep.
I mean, one of the best moments was one of the first Matt Smith Clara episodes. He brings her to this moon and he tells her, "Oh, I used to bring my granddaughter here all the time and she loved it." And then he never mentions it again. And I really was oh man, they're seeding something.
And then
yeah.
Well, I hope that John Barrowman can survive whatever happened, because I do believe that there is a culture out there that thinks it's holding accountable but is really a court of public opinion and doesn't actually vet facts. And I say that as somebody who does this for their career. They vet facts. So I hope he's able to survive that. But I also hope that whatever happens in these last 6 to 10 episodes, including specials, they're able to get through to a spot that gives Russell Davies that opening. Just say, maybe it's like in Will and Grace where the dream didn't actually happen in the reboot, or it's all in a snow globe like St. Elsewhere or something like that. Just something like that where maybe it's a walking nightmare, a waking dream, or a matrix within the space and time continuity of Doctor Who. I don't know, but something that gets us back to the road that has been established by the previous 50 plus years of Doctor Who storytelling. Yeah.
I read that Barrowman's not coming back for Series 13, but BBC didn't rule out.
Yeah, he's not. He's lost. He's continued to lose projects, but it's yet to be confirmed by the BBC if he'll ever be welcomed back or not due to the flashing allegations.
So what do they do with the guy who played Mickey?
He's not coming. He doesn't come back. That was way back early on. So
he lost his job.
He was starting on
where
he was starting to do it too. I think he was just fired. I think it was in early development.
The other thing I was going to say too is that when he was doing his panel, he now had to he had to do like a verbal disclaimer before anything he said, which he never has done before in any of the other panels that I've gone to. He had to make a statement about, like, you're choosing to be here, you're choosing to listen to me. You're like, it is unfortunate, but yes, I hope that this attention kind of goes away, because I think most of his fans would like to see him back.
Well, if Al Franken can make a comeback, then so can John Barrowman.
I don't even know what to say to that, Nick. I got nothing. I just work here.
Hey, put it this way. People hated Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor, and he got a regeneration. Like time and nostalgia. People come back and revisit things. Yes.
Let's get to these final 2 questions so that...
There's more?
It's the same ones we always have, Nicholas.
I thought we already answered those.
No, we didn't. So I quiver at the answer to come, but are you going to keep watching?
Yes.
Yes, but I'll probably wait until it's all available to watch at once on HBO, the streaming service. I'm not going to watch it in real time.
Yes. I'm not excited to watch it. I'm going to watch it because I have to.
I will watch it.
Now.
I watch it all together in preparation for our next podcast.
Because that's the next question.
But otherwise, I'm more looking forward to the horizon like everyone else.
Yeah, but also I don't have a way to watch it in real time. I don't have cable.
Oh yeah, I also don't have cable.
Yeah.
And Hillary, will you be watching with wine in hand or not?
Yeah, that's the measurement.
Maybe something stronger?
Yeah, I don't even know. Like this is like a different feeling because, you know, like with the other shows that I've said that before, because I already had so much established like heartfelt joy and love for Doctor Who. Like I said, the thing that I just keep coming back to is it makes me feel numb.
So you don't need a numbing agent. Got it.
That's what I think is what she said.
Sure.
Whereas with the shows that she previously referred to,
I'm fine with that.
The upcoming DCTU series, she's going to need the numbing agent.
Dude.
She needs it to not fall asleep. Like, she literally will doze off within minutes on those DC shows.
These are the moments where I wish that I could use one of Spencer. Like, he just comes up with those beautiful metaphors on the fly for how, especially like when he detests something.
Dumpster fire. That's what he'd say.
That was his description of Jessica Jones. Yes, Kristen remembers graphically. But that's for our Marvel's Defenders series, which we've already finished. Please see our archives. Sarah, are you going to keep watching?
I am going to keep watching because I'm on this panel. But if I wasn't, I don't know if I would, because it's just not compelling me forward. I'd be more likely to go back and watch the 9, 10, and 11th Doctors again, because I really enjoy those. And I didn't say it earlier, but I think Blink is probably my second favorite episode of television of all time.
It's the best one of Doctor Who by far.
It's a standalone, amazing thing. I recommended it to somebody last week who wasn't familiar with Doctor Who, yet was quoting an episode, and I was like, "Oh, you're a Whovian," and they were like, "What?" So
popular culture.
Yeah, and then I said, "Oh, the face of Bo," and they were like, "What?" I'm like, "Am I saying it wrong?" Because I get self-conscious that I'm like misquoting. But it turns out they were just quoting something, and then I said, "Oh, you got to watch. They like spooky things." I said, "You got to watch Blink. It's a near perfect piece of television, and it stands alone, and you can watch it. You don't have to know anything about it." So anyway, that was a long answer. Yes, I will keep watching. I don't hate it, and I'm not going to jump the shark on it, but I'm not overall too excited. Maybe they can change my mind.
Very positive. I also am going to keep watching. I mean, at least the benefit of this show is that the main character does change. The showrunner does change. The characters that the Doctor associates themselves with change. We're not locked into something like on these other shows we're referring to where you're stuck with who you're stuck with from beginning to end. So it really is just getting through this one last season, and they could surprise us. I don't know. And then I would want to see what the Russell Davies return does for the show. So I'm going to keep watching at least just to get to that point. I need to know how he's going to be able to save it and whether it can be saved. And I still love the idea of the universe. I was brought into it. People talked me into watching it because it was science fiction and British, and I'd never watched it before. And now I'm in it, and I don't just abandon things very easily. It takes a lot for me to abandon something, so I'm going to watch it. But now here's the next question. Would you recommend Doctor Who? Why or why not?
Well, I kind of just did.
You do.
I guess I would, because it's somebody's cup of tea, but it has to be the right person, right?
Yes, I would recommend Doctor Who as a whole, especially, yes, to somebody who is maybe looking for a genre thing or a fandom thing or any of those things. But I would definitely strongly caution them when they get to this era of Doctor Who.
See, I always recommend to people who don't watch it to watch The Christmas Carol. It's the first bit I saw with Matt Smith, and it stands alone. And if you watch that and you love like the time travel and it's like the way he uses it and the unique storytelling of the show, then most of those people they absolutely love it, and then they go back and they watch as much as they can because it has that magic and unique storytelling. But I would not recommend these seasons to anybody by any means.
Yeah, I'd recommend the early portion of the modern era of Doctor Who to people, starting with Eccleston and going all the way up through Matt Smith for sure, possibly Capaldi if they're really, really into it. But I can't recommend them jumping on board at this point. They'd probably have to wait until Russell comes back to the helm next year if they were brand new to Who and wanted to jump in right now. But old stuff for sure.
Does Zach watch Doctor Who? I don't. No. That's my answer. I just really didn't know.
No, the husband does not watch a lot of the nerdy sci-fi superhero stuff that I watch.
Oh, okay. That's good information. Sure.
What do you like? Sports?
Yes, he does like sports.
He's a sports. Yep, I married a sports guy. So
by sports, do you mean musicals? Words, so I'm confused.
Does he? What's his not? Give me an example of a show that he likes to watch.
He's on the panel in the production line for Cobra Kai, if that helps you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's nerdy in its own way, though. Sure, I think I'm on that.
Yeah, and he liked Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Okay.
He likes that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay, fair.
Sports and drugs, got it.
And he's managed some of Hillary's approval for that.
If he likes shows like that, you should, if he hasn't seen it, have him watch Justified.
Ooh, I don't know if he has. I'll let him know.
Amazing.
In the meantime, I would still recommend Doctor Who. I think I don't remember who said it. I think you just got to start, if you are brand new to the franchise, you just got to start with the modern era and go forward. And decide how you feel about it. If you are already watching the franchise, Jodie Whittaker's era, unfortunately, is a rough patch for all of these modern doctors. And recommending is kind of a strong word. If you're a completionist, watch them, I think. But you can probably bypass your era. You're probably going to get mad. There's a lot of anger flowing through this podcast. There's a lot of fear. The dark side of the Force is stepped in. I don't know what to do. I know it's a Star Wars reference, Nick, but I was coming full circle with that whole Force Ghost business, and we did make several references to Star Trek. So you can just calm down.
And get over it. They're both good and and you have a cute baby either way.
So that's where I guess we are. Cute baby and all. Is there anything else you want to say about Doctor Who before we sign off?
No.
Watch Quantum Leap instead. The better show with a better companion.
I see. Well, that will be for our upcoming Quantum Leap panel, which Sarah will be moderating because it's a show that stars Scott Bakula, and let's just be real. But until that time, what I would like to do is thank Hillary and Kyle and Kristen and Nick and Sarah and Lily for joining us once again to talk about Doctor Who, for better or for worse. And because we've gotten all of our Who Knows kicks out, it's time for the credits. Couch Potatoes Unite! Was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, which is really another way of saying executively produced by me, Kylie Piette. My associate producers are Krista Pennington and Selene Rezmer. I edit this podcast, and our logo is by Rebecca Wallace. Our marketing graphic artist is Krista. Our theme song was written by Sarah Milbratz and sung by Sarah, Amy McDaniel, and Kels Rezmer. Kels played the keyboard, Ian McDonough played the bass, Christian Somerville played the guitar, and the whole shebang was engineered by Kyle Aspinall and Christian. We hail from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us, give us stars, provide comments, or review us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Amazon are just a few of the places you can find us, but we're also on YouTube. We have our website. Otherwise, feel free to tell us how we're doing, what we should add, subtract, keep, or toss. You know how it goes. And if you have suggestions for shows we might consider, contact us at our website where we have a guest book, by email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, our Facebook, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, or wherever you get your podcasts. Though, of course, we have new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time, and always have new episodes coming down the pipe. Just listen to our intros. If you miss old episodes or want to know in general what shows we cover, just search for us. Find us wherever you do searchable things on the internet. Don't forget that exclamation point, or contact us via our website, our email, our social media accounts, and to stay up on all the new events and episodes by our humble little podcast, Couch Potatoes Unite! Exclamation point. Until the next time, Doctor Who, at least the modern incarnations, are available to stream on HBO Max. Why, we don't know, but that's where it is. In the meantime, our Doctor Who panel will next reconvene to discuss Series 13, which premiered on the BBC and BBC America on October 31st, 2021, and will reconvene sometime after the season finale of Series 13 airs. So until next time, until next episode, new episodes are published every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned!
Bye-bye!